Fred Pew Radio. This is Chiara Nicoletti from the 23rd Alice nella Città and with Ronan Day Lewis, director of Anemone. So while I was watching the film, I remember writing down at a certain point that this felt to me as a story of a man who embarks on, let's say, two painful journeys, but very rewarding ones at the end. Going back to being a brother and finally becoming a father. What do you think? How did you conceive?
Yeah. I think at the outset of the story, Ray is someone who's kind of gone through almost like a spiritual suicide. Like he's disconnected himself from all these things that signified an identity and, you know, the people that were closest to him, like his brother Jem. So when Jem shows up at the beginning of the story, it breaks this illusion that he's been able to kind of construct for himself that's protected him from the past. So I think that that rediscovery of their relationship, even though it brings joy, it also brings like immense pain because it forces him to face things about himself that he's been able to kind of anesthetize himself to, and that kind of the brother archetype was definitely something that was the way in for me, and then the father-son kind of thread of it actually crept up on us over time as we were writing it. And initially Brian was more of a kind of footnote on the periphery of the story, and then I think the first time we spent a scene like alone in Brian's room with him was a big moment because it kind of opened up this whole new perspective on the film and on war and on, you know, on this kind of generational thread of the film, that reunion or the possibility of that reunion became really essential.
Would you drive me along your visual choices? I mean, at first your camera looks at Ray, you know, always from behind and from a corner. It feels like he's not ready yet to face the camera. Yeah. And as he slowly opens up, you know, the camera approaches him till the very end. So I wanted to know more.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. That was I wanted it to feel, because he hasn't allowed himself to. He's not able to see himself or reveal himself to other people when we first discover him, and so I think that it felt only right visually that he'd be kind of hiding himself from the camera as well, and that the camera is set up as this kind of probing entity that's like, you know, when we first discover him, it's pushing in on the back of his head, and it's sort of setting up that mystery of who he is. But then the scene where where Jem arrives outside the hut and he you know, hears someone's presence outside, the camera's always kind of roving around trying to see his face, and he's always turning away from it. And I think that kind of searching quality is a recurring motif that kind of connects his whole journey to this sense of portent and of you know, something waiting to happen also in the natural world. And when at the end, when you see him, well, I guess that's a bit of a spoiler, but eventually the camera does face him frontally, and I think that's an important moment visually.
A very emotional one.
Yeah.
You're a painter, so Anemone as a way of being also beautifully shot, you know, as we're looking at one painting after the other. So how did you work with your DOP to have him share your vision?
Yeah, we looked at a lot of before we first sat down, I did a kind of preliminary shot list, and we looked at that, and we ended up, you know, changing a lot about it and expanding it, and in terms of finding the visual language, we looked at a few different things. We looked at this book, the Book of Miracles, which was this 16th century illuminated manuscript of showing all these images from a mixture of Old Testament and kind of folklore of these like crazy hailstorms and blood rain and kind of cosmic occurrences in the sky and stuff. And then we also looked at this book of photographs of Sheffield from the mid-90s by Nick Waplington, which were way more grounded, of just these interiors and these kind of more quotidian scenes. And so that became a way to kind of visually understand that dichotomy between the mythic aspect of the film and the kind of the real, which was kind of equally important. But I think we tried to really synthesize them into a visual language where they didn't feel like departures from one another, but they felt like kind of one fabric that's sort of woven together. And then we also actually looked at we listened to a lot of music also, actually, as a visual as a reference in terms of the tone, which was great. A lot of shoegaze, which also became a reference for the score.
Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we've been talking to Ronan Day Lewis, director of Anemone, screening at the 23rd Alice nella Città, and Mrs. Chiara Nicoletti for Fred, the Festival Insider.